this week's Cats Whiskers TV. Once again, we're splitting the show into two parts. Later, in part 2, we'll be looking at our hot topic, is there a conflict of interest within British hockey? And also be reviewing Premier Sports Elite League coverage from the weekend, before looking ahead to the weekend games. But in this part of the show, we're going to look back at this weekend's Elite League games and also Panthers in the Continental Cup. But first, it's the Elite League games, and here's Sam and Sean to talk about Hull v Cardiff.
Right, I'm here with Sam Balm, also known as the student on Cats Whiskers traditionally. We were just at the Stingrays and the Devils game. Devils come away with a 4-1 victory. It's a pretty decent game, wasn't it?
Yeah,
overall?
it's a good game, yeah.
Not the best I've ever seen, but definitely not the worst. A lot in it. If you were a new fan, you were going to come away happy from that.
Yeah. Well, unless you're a new Stingrays fan, obviously.
Yeah, new Stingrays fan, possibly not taking it very well. Dan Lacosta played very well.
Yeah.
The Stingrays did the scoreline isn't very reflective of the game.
No.
I think. The Stingrays did create some good chances.
Yeah.
But Dan Lacosta was on top form. Some of the stuff that Ben Bounds could not get a hold of at all. No chance of stopping it. That first goal scored by Matt Myers. That Chris Jones pass in the slot. No chance of stopping that at all. But
and there's the second goal that came really quickly after, didn't it?
Yes.
And that just went.
That pretty much cleared off the whole game.
Yeah.
Well, the first period, that was right at the end of the first period as well. So obviously the Stingrays went into the locker room a bit dejected and down and a bit down on their luck. So that was sort of it. Bit chippy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a very chippy game. Brad Plumpton was having words.
Even Smith, he thought he might kick off, but he never did, really.
Yeah, Smith.
Is this yours? Yeah. Don't leave it up there, simply.
Very nice cleaner there. I'll cut that out. I'll edit that out. But obviously, yeah, Smith was a bit of a target for the Devils fans, most certainly. Did make a meal of some of the things. He was very, very deserving of the penalty that he took, of that misconduct. Very, very. I think was it abuse of official after that he got it for?
I think he just grabbed. Did he grab Plumpton, was it?
I think he was doing the face-off, wasn't
it?
Doing the face-off. He did have a bit of a mouth about it.
And Wilson was telling him not to.
Yeah,
him,
and
he
kept going.
Kept
We also need to mention that Matt Suderman got a game penalty, original 10-minute misconduct, which I believe was then up to a 10-minute to make a game misconduct penalty, and then a match added onto it.
Yeah.
I think that was what I heard announced. Could be totally wrong. We'll find out tomorrow when we look at the game sheet. But all in all, Devils played pretty well. Against a very decent Hull side. But I don't think that. Obviously, I'll be reviewing tomorrow's game with Sheffield, but I don't think if we play like that tomorrow against a Sheffield team, that's not going to be as easy as it was tonight at all. Obviously, Ben Bounds played very well. What he could get, he did get.
Yeah.
But the Devils just put some pretty plays together. So that's the segment from us. Hopefully you enjoyed, and student sends his love back home to all you Panthers fans.
So Sam and Sean's thoughts on Hull against Cardiff there. Aaron and Paul joined me as ever. Of course, big incident in that game is that Nicholas Suderman got sent off for what seems like abuse of the official and generally going a little bit mad, as the lads were going on about there. Not good when your captain loses it.
It's not, but hey, it's all. They've got a record, haven't they?
Yeah, well, like I said about that, the better. Of course, Cardiff, this was probably a game where we thought they may struggle, especially considering the form that they've been in recently and the resurgence of Hull, who have been scoring a lot of goals, winning a few games. So this has been a very welcome victory for the Devils.
Yeah, definitely. But just saying that, we all said that it was a difficult game. Hull, come into good form, so of course Cardiff were going to go and win, weren't they? So, but no, it's a good result for the Devils, and I think Hull will be quite disappointed. But like you just said, bringing into the factor of what you just mentioned, it's not going to help the situation, is it? And but they're those games that you just never know, are they? There's never a clear. With everything that's going on, there's not really been a clear winner in that sort of game there. So from the Devils' point of view, it'll be a very welcome, 2 points.
So looking at some of the other games from Saturday, Clan with a good win and a bit of a shootout at the Brayhead Arena, a 7-4 win. Took an empty net goal for them to win by that margin. And good to see Fife scoring a few, but obviously conceding a few more at the back.
Yeah, old-time hockey that, isn't it? So, 7-4, it's, it's not the sort of score you see a lot of these days, and defence is obviously optional.
Well, I do know Blair Daly, Fife's backup, was in for that game. I'm not sure what's up with Reagan, their regular starter. However, from the reports I was seeing on Twitter on the night, it seems he really applied himself well, and they say it certainly wasn't his fault that they lost. But Fife have really got to start finding some form soon, or they're probably going to be dragged into that. Dragged to the bottom, especially with Edinburgh finding some form lately.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because obviously everything was on Edinburgh. They hadn't won for ages. They were there at the bottom. They couldn't buy a win really. Like you just say, they've got on a bit of a run, and that's, if the teams that were just above them, go on a bit of a drought and stuff like that, then they'll easily get dragged in. And that conference, pretty much like both conferences, it only takes you to go on a bit of a drought or a bit of a run, and you can make ground or you can lose ground. So, yeah, Fife will really want to try and turn a corner now, because they are on a bit of a slide.
Blaze against Giants, which is of course the live game on Premier Sports. So we'll be talking about that in the second part. But for the game itself, another good victory for the Giants. 2-0 up. Blaze did well, dragged it back to 2-2, and then Giants with Sandrock scoring towards the end to seal the win.
Yeah, they keep winning, don't they? They're getting in. They're on a good run. Clan were on one. They're building good results. It's going to be a tight league this year.
Very much so, I think. But
heavily outshot the Blaze as well.
They did.
So Blaze did well to sort of drag it to the 2-2, and then, like you say, Sandrock on 55, I think it was. But that's a sign of I'm not going to say the word, but a team that could be there come the end of at the end of the season. Grounding out those wins. But it would have been a game that the Blaze would have wanted to win, with it being a double weekend. They really would have wanted to start that off on the right foot. But fair play to the Giants. Really, they ground out it and got the 2 points.
Of course, we'll finish off with Steelers. Steelers getting their usual Saturday night victory. We'll move on to Sunday in a bit, but 4-1 against the Stars. But the Stars struggling for numbers. They only had 12 skaters. Steelers, I suppose you would expect them to win a game at home to the Stars, but they've not been that consistent this season.
No, exactly, and Dundee, for like you say, yes, 12 skaters, but they've pulled some rabbits out of the hats so far this season. You only have to go look to the first few weeks of the season, but I don't know. Obviously it was played at Sheffield. Did that have an impact in just less pressure, less? It's sort of, they don't play there every week, so it's not like they are at home. It's almost like an away match in a way, because it's not the Motorpoint Arena. But it could have easily been a game that Sheffield might have lost and Dundee might have won. But it was a good home performance from Sheffield at the end of the day. I don't think they were ever really in any trouble of losing the game. So, it would have been, again, a good start to the weekend for them that they would have hopefully gone and built on. But obviously, as we talk about Sunday, it wasn't. So,
Do you think Dundee can continue to sustain their position? Because they seem to be having a few defeats lately, whereas earlier in the season they was continually winning. Is it a case of the bubble bursting, or do you think they can still come back?
It depends. If they stay short of bodies, it's going to be hard for them. But they came out and they've shown that they can compete. And that you can keep that. If you can keep that going, you've got a chance. Bray have come past them of late, but it's mid-November, towards the end of November, I suppose. Really, there's a lot of hockey still to be played. Cliche time, but if they can, now's the time they've got to show it.
Well, of course, Steelers travelled to the Big Blue Tent in Cardiff on Sunday night, trying to get only their second 4-point weekend of the season. Sean Phillips was there. Here's his report.
Okay, so the Devils and the Steelers on Sunday night. The Devils came away with a 3-1 victory. Surprisingly, came out of absolutely nowhere. Didn't expect that at all. Sheffield have got a very talented team, but they just couldn't create anything. The one goal they did score was a very lucky goal. Pass across the crease, came off Tyson Marsh's stick as he went to drop down, take away the passing lane, and it went past Dan Lacosta. But all in all, Sheffield were very poor. Frank Doyle was absolutely outstanding. Should have been 7 or 8-1 based on some of the saves he made, because he was brilliant all night. The Devils were not great. Again, the finishing, they probably should have finished a lot more of those chances, but they didn't, because it was obviously only 3-1. The third goal was an empty netter, which doesn't really count. The second goal we scored, Jake Morissette with a beautiful pass from Ben Davis. Sorry, Benny Davis has really grown up, I think, in a hockey sense, and rather than going for the glory, he's really starting to make the key pass, and he's developing into one of the best British players in the league, and he probably will be in a few years. And he's most certainly our best British player when, you guys thought it would be Matt Myers this year. And he's been very, very, very poor. He had a good game Saturday, but Sunday, he had a very clear chance. Went around a defenseman beautifully, took it round Frank Doyle, shot. It was harder to miss, to be quite frank, and he missed. He couldn't put it in the empty net. But all in all, a solid game. Not the worst game I've ever been to. It was a real shame, really, because it was built up to be a classic, and after the first period, it was looking really like it was going to be one of those old Sheffield Cardiff games that we really miss in the past few years. But the crowd were very poor. The only time the noise really came out was when the Devils scored that second goal, which you can imagine the euphoria when that second goal goes in. But you should be building up your team before that. So disappointed with the crowd, to be quite frank. But Sheffield were very frustrating to watch, I think, for their fans who were sat nearby, and the Devils, took advantage of the poor Steelers' play. But all in all, good game. Don't take too much from it, Mr. Pope. Sheffield weren't that good, I'm afraid. Sorry. But well done to the head of player development for bringing all those players in, including Jake Morissette with the game winner, and giving Benny Davis the chance that he deserves, and turning him into one of the best British players around, and I'm sure he will be in a few years. But that's it from me. Back to the show.
So, 3-1 victory for the Cardiff Devils, a much needed 4-point weekend for them. We've got a few tweets in that led into a bit of a chain, but the original tweet was from Dave Newton, or who some people may know as Kipper. He said a 4-point weekend, what were the keys to the improvement? And he said a fit goalie, and that is something they have been missing this season, and it seems Lacosta has come back. He's putting in the performances now, and 4-point weekend.
Well, yeah, we said it when he got injured, didn't we? a while back now, that any team is going to miss, their number one netminder, and there was big things sort of and positive things said about Lacosta when he first came. That he was a decent netminder. At the start of the season, we all know the goings on in Cardiff, so that didn't help the situation. But once you have that netminder there, and you can build on from that, and the defence get to used to playing with him, then it builds confidence throughout the team, and that's all you can hope for. So we said that when he was injured, that Cardiff sort of need to realise that he was missing, and maybe it was a false sort of pretense, the position that they were in and how they're performing in results and stuff. So is it any surprise that when he is fit now, and he's been fit for a while, that they're starting to pick up points? It's...
Of course, sorry.
I was just going to say, it does have to be pointed out, though, that we did have a conflicting point of view from Cardiff, from a young Cardiff boy called Brent Pope, who got into what, quite frankly, a little bit of an ugly spat on Twitter. Quite embarrassing for the coach of a team to be getting involved like that.
Andy left us tagged in it. So.
Yeah, so we got to see everything, unfortunately. But it seems to be a bit of a trend for us, doesn't it? This officials of teams getting involved with fans.
Yeah, of course. For those who watched last week, and many of you did. You'll have seen young Mr. Clarenbold with one of his now famous rants after a poor Steelers performance. Of course, Mr. Sims wasn't too happy with him, was he?
He wasn't, no, and again, you can't have an official of a club getting involved with a fan like that. It doesn't do anybody any good. And we did give Dave the opportunity to reply on camera, to send us in some footage, and to be honest, he's just ignored our requests.
So there
Make
you go.
that what you will.
So we gave him the right of reply, and he didn't take us up on it, unfortunately. Moving on to Giants against Blaze again, part 2 of the doubleheader. Again, Blaze getting a point out of this one on the shootout, but Giants still coming out on top.
What can you say? I said it, about 5 minutes ago, that it's a sign of a very good team, shall we say, that maybe there or thereabouts come the end of the season. Look, going into that, 2 games against the Blaze in the Sky Dome to get 4 points. However, even if one was 3 penalty shots, that's some going, that is, and there won't be many teams, I don't think, including the Panthers, that would possibly do that at the moment. And I will say at the moment, do that. So you have to give the Giants credit. They are grinding out results. They are getting maximum points, and they're just chugging along on the Giants train. So fair play to them. But from a Blaze point of view, I just think maybe psychologically, if they had managed to get that win in the penalty shots, that would have been quite a big boost. So, on the other hand, it's going to be quite disappointing to walk away from that, with just 1 point from that double header.
I suppose the more impressive thing about Giants' victory is, of course, Blaze had Egner back, which received a fantastic reception on Saturday's game. So, they're up pretty much full strength now, the Blaze. So they would have been hoping to probably get something out of this weekend. But Giants, AD's got them playing a very entertaining brand of hockey. So they're not only winning, but they're actually winning quite pretty as well.
That doesn't matter, does it?
Well, it doesn't, but it's always. I mean, take us last season. It was always a bonus that it was nice to win it with a bit of style, and Giants are doing that.
Oh yeah, and you're right, but it keeps the fans happy. But I'd just take the win anyway. But I mean, going back to what Aaron said and agreeing with about the Blaze, that psychologically to get so close twice and miss out both times, because they won't be bothered about the fact they've got a point. Losing like that, it's going to knock them for the next time they come up against them. It's like, can we actually beat these people? And that's going to be in the back of their heads. So it's hard for them, but that's sport for you.
Giants had a couple of players missing as well. Lloyd, being one of them on the second game as well. So it was a good opportunity for the Blaze to maybe, get that win. But like I said, the Giants train keeps on rolling.
And the Clan train keeps on rolling as well. They've come up very, very quietly on the rails. Now find themselves second place, 3 games in hand, 5 points behind. So win them 3 games. And I know it's better to have points on the board than games in hand, but they win them games in hand, they go top of the Elite League, and they've sort of sneaked up by stealth almost. But another great result for them on Sunday night, getting a 4-0 victory at 5. That is no mean feat. That is a hell of a result for the Clan.
Yeah, I mean, is it such a surprise though? You say like they've snuck up and stuff like that. I'm not so sure it is necessarily such a surprise and they have snuck up, because a lot of people within hockey have been saying that when Finity gets a full squad and he gets no injuries, they are going to be a force to be reckoned with. Is it just because we're used to our conference and we always think that a team from our conference is going to be at number 1 position, and this season it's not going to be like that, because the Clan are going to be there, fighting all the way. They are just getting results in places that you wouldn't think they would be able to get a result. But to get 4 points from that against Fife, is just a great weekend. And again, that's another train that is just going to keep on going. Really, I just don't know whether. I just don't know whether they're really going to be derailed quite severely. I don't know. They are going to be there. They really are.
I think they've got. I think they're doing very, very well, and I can see them staying up there for the rest of the season. Obviously, a lot of credit's got to go to Ryan Finnerty for building the team he has and then getting them on a winning run. How much credit do you give him for the position that they're in?
Oh, well done for getting through that link without mentioning trains. Yeah, he's got him playing for him. We said that, before when they played down here, how organised they were, how they looked like a team that was playing together, and they're obviously playing for the coach. So he wasn't. It didn't go right for him for whatever reason in Sheffield, but Neil Black must have seen something in him that he thought was worth employing in Braehead, and so far he's paying him back.
Of course, we've got a couple of tweets from Clan fans, because we asked them, do you think they'll be in the mix at the end of the season? Our old mate Clanman Al, he says, hopefully we'll be in the mix, especially when Goldie returns, because of course he's still out at the moment. End of January will show a clearer picture, and I think that's a fair point, actually.
It is. It is. Like I said earlier, it's, as we film this, it's the 25th of November. It's a month until Christmas. Great. And we're not even halfway through the season yet. So, yeah, end of January we'll have a better idea.
Plenty of hockey left, isn't there? Plenty of things to happen. Injuries, suspensions. There's plenty of games to go from everybody's point of view, that is, as well.
Last game from Sunday was a Caps against Hull. Caps with another win, 5-0 up, but Hull did score 3 goals in the last 2.5 minutes of the game, which that we know that Hull are dangerous in attack, but it appears they're dangerous for all the wrong reasons in defence as well.
I'm pretty sure Caps, when it got to 5-3, would have been a bit squeaky bum, saying,
I think it was 11 seconds from the end.
You never know. It only takes a second to score.
Thanks, Brian.
But no, from the Caps' point of view, fantastic that is, isn't it? Really, they are really, and we did say this, that eventually they were always going to win a game. But I think what's great is that they've actually managed to back that up, with another couple of wins as well. And I think that will build even more confidence. The first win is get the monkey off the back, but then when you can build it up a little bit, it just breeds confidence. But from Hull's point of view, not the best weekend, is it? No points, very disappointing against teams that maybe they would have thought, we can get something from.
I think Hull would have confidently gone into this weekend thinking they could have got 4 points from it. They'll be extremely disappointed not to get any.
Yeah, they'd have wanted 4. They'd probably have taken 2. To get none at all is disappointing, and a bit worrying for them. But there is one good thing to be taken out of it. At least we're not, Edinburgh are improving, and so at least we're not going to be playing them any times. Oh, hang on, wait.
Yeah.
Big week as well.
Yeah. Well, we all remember what happened this time last year, of course, but we will be on to that a little later. One final point I want to make.
You missed the game off again.
No, I haven't missed it. Have I? No, I haven't.
Yeah.
Devils and Steelers.
Yeah.
That's the final point I wanted to make.
So not.
It was. Because, of course, Devils, of course, beating the Steelers 3-1. We'll finish with Sean's report in a moment. But I did ask the question on Twitter last night, is Doug's time up? Because, of course, the annual threads appeared on Steel Talk that the coach should go. Who had the end of November in the sweep? Anyone? So I got a couple of replies from that. So Liam McCall's Gorsland said, my football supporting head goes yes, my hockey head said, well, who else is there? Which means a season of this, sigh. So, I think he's quite indifferent about that, but, I was reading Steel Talk, and they're sort of calling for Doug's head. Far too early for that, surely.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's the end of November. Have I mentioned that already so far? Yeah. Yes, he's had a few problems. He's had any number of problems, but to sit there and say it's time to get rid of him is just ludicrous. And I quite like the way they're playing at the moment. So keep him there for me.
It's quite odd, isn't it, that they seem to be winning on Saturdays and losing on Sundays. You're not going to win anything with 500 hockey, as I think we've said in the past. But is it a fitness issue, perhaps, that they're running out of steam in the Sunday games?
Possibly. I mean,
but it was third period. They were 1-1 going into the final 3 minutes and ended up losing 3-1. Last period last week, of course, 1-1 going into the period. Panthers score 5 unanswered goals, lose 6-1. So
you say fitness, but is it a mental fitness as well? Though, is it the fact of losing concentration? Is it? I mean, I don't. It's a very strange situation, the fact that you do win on Saturdays, but you just don't win on Sundays. It's really random. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, they made a bold statement when they went and got Doug. That isn't a light appointment. That is a big, bold appointment, saying we are going to take you from a rival team, and we are going to make you our coach. So I would be very surprised, even if they end up, with no trophies at the end of the season, that he'll still be there next season, I think, because they've made that bold statement. So, but look at the players. How many times in any sport do we say coaches, coaches, coaches? You can only do so much as a coach. The players need to take some responsibility and go, and I'm sure, if it carries on like that very soon, you'll see movement, in and out.
I mean, I personally think it's well too early to be talking. And of course, who do you replace him with? Who's out there to replace him? So we'll see.
Whoever's out there comes a point, and I'm not saying they've reached that point now, where you've got to jump. And if they continue like this, maybe Tony Smith will get to the point where he thinks it doesn't really matter who's out there. I've got to have a punt at somebody.
We're going to look back at Panthers' weekend in Italy in the Continental Cup second round. I don't like to say disappointment, because they played out of their skin. They did probably far better than any of us actually expected, and in the end, were very, very unlucky not to go through.
Yeah, I mean, it's a disappointment in as much as they've not progressed, but it's also sort of a relief for me. If I'm
in what way?
Well, that's 3 less games. We've already got a stack of injuries. We've not exactly come out of it unscathed either. But just really, I mean, you don't want to say it sounds really cheesy, but just proud of the performances. They at times it looked like they were playing against 9 men with some of the but we knew what the refereeing was going to be like, and I think any team from this country, whenever they go and play, because we play a very different style of hockey to the rest of Europe practically. So that was always going to be against us, and so it proved. But we've gone out there in both this round and especially I think the round before, and showed the rest of Europe what British ice hockey can do, not just on the ice, but off it. We put on. Although the crowds weren't as good as maybe we'd hoped, but over in the world famous Capital FM arena. Which is because Capital FM's world famous, not the actual arena. I've worked out. Face saving. We put a good show on in there, and we showed people that we could run it, something like that. So I hope whoever wins the league, we get people back here again. Because we've shown it's possible.
I mean, some really gutsy performances from Panthers over the weekend. Unlucky against the Russians on Friday. At least I'm not going to pronounce the name, so don't even expect me to.
Netverkamsk.
Thank you very much. So unlucky against Netverkamsk on Friday, 4-3. Netverkamsk.
Apologies to any Russians out there.
But always gutting to lose to a goal less than 2 minutes to go on a power play. Saturday, I watched all of that stream, the whole game, and it was like watching the Riga performance once again. It was such a real gritty, digging out, never give up, never say die performance. Got the win 2-1, and it's great to see that sort of performance from Panthers.
Most definitely, and I mean, Paul mentioned it at the very start about maybe being a little bit cheesy, but I tweeted last night after the game, saying that everybody to do with the Panthers, from the whole organisation to the fans, and let's pay credit to the fans that were over there, because every time I watched the stream, and I had to have it at work on the Friday, just sort of hidden in the corner, but you could hear them all game, chanting and stuff like that. And even on last night's game, when the rink was full of Asiago fans, you could still hear the Panthers fans. So, and I tweeted saying that everybody should be proud. So I know Paul says that's a little bit cheesy, and you can say it, but we really should be there, because
I think we should be.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just because I'm so proud. It just all gets a bit too much for me. But then I've no soul.
You're a cold-hearted man. But no, I mean, I think that performance, and I think all performances, really showed that. What sort of the Panthers as an organisation, as a team, are about. And there was gritty performances, and I do think we were very unlucky. And I agree with everything that Paul said. Any team that goes and plays in these European competitions from our league is going to struggle with penalties because of the different types of hockey. And one thing I will say is, come Wednesday's game when we play Edinburgh, and we, people sat around us and moaning about the refereeing, have a think. You could easily have some of those referees, and you have to give credit to our referees in that sense. They are not, we sometimes slate them and think God, why have we got these crap referees? Take a look at what we could have, But I felt like I was Jimboing then. But no, I'm just immensely proud from the whole point of view. And I think we were very, very unlucky. And I think if we had gone through, I don't think anybody would have been, I don't think we deserved that. I don't think, we were very unlucky on the Friday. We put a very strong performance in on the Saturday. And Sunday was always going to be that type of game. And again, we were very unlucky to lose it like we did on that game. So from that point of view, I was personally quite looking forward to a little trip, in January. I think that would have been nice. I know, when you talk about injuries and stuff like that, maybe it's a blessing in disguise. And what I hope really is that this sort of kicks on, into our league form, and we build some. Because the thing is, and I thought this is literally the problem that we have is no real team in the Elite League has sort of dominated, over a few years and won the league for a few years running in recent times.
Probably Coventry have probably come close.
But I'm talking in quite recent. It wasn't recent times. Yeah, I'm talking the last few years, basically, last 2-3 years. So then, it would be nice if we won the league. Again, we go into European competition, and you build a bit of, because it's a shame that you get that experience and you get used to it, and you build the club to do that. But then the next year you're not in it. Yeah. Because you're not won the league. It'd be nice if you could get a bit of consistency in our league, so then you go over there and you're improving that, because and so that says back to what Paul says, whoever wins the league this year, I hope, again, like Paul said, they go into that competition and can give a strong performance for our league in general and GB hockey, because the Panthers have done this league and everybody proud.
And looking at last night's game against Asiago, and you talk about the refereeing, and we talk about how difficult it is to draw penalties, but there seemed to be something blatantly wrong with that. And I mean, watching the stream, and I had the commentary from Owen and Chris running at the same time, and you could sense the exasperation in the voice as they was commentating, because I mean, there was one where David Clark was just wrestled to the ground, and there was nothing. There was one of the Asiago defenders put his hand over the puck and froze it in the crease. That is a penalty shot, nothing given. And you were sort of thinking, what is going off here? You know, and it's things like that. It's very, very frustrating because I felt the Panthers last night were not only playing Asiago, but they were playing the officials as well.
Yeah, I mean, you only have to look at the end of the game where Chris Murray, who'd been playing, you know, because he's got stitches in his face, was playing with a full face mask, fought one of the Asiago players. And, you know, and those, you know, it did seem at times, you know, they were getting away with any number of things. I mean, you watched it at the end when there was David Clark and, you know, and the Asiago player being presented with something. He really didn't look like he wanted to be there.
Also, it's very rare you'll ever see David Clark offer out the whole opposition bench.
Well, I think that was very close to kicking off. And, you know, let's pay credit to, like you just mentioned them, but Owen and Chris for their work over the weekend as well, because their commentary was second to none. It was class. It was class. And you could sense in that commentary that, you know, it was almost, you know, and I think a tweet said to Owen, you know, but you could have a boxing commentating career coming up towards the end of that, but it looked as if it was going, like you say, Clarkie's not usually that type that will, but that's just born out of frustration. That is pure and simple. That is what it is, and it's to lose like that. It's very difficult pill to swallow, but what can you know? That's just what it is, isn't it? Unfortunately,
You've just got to, you know, what's done is done. You've got to take the positives from it, you know.
I think if you're talking positive, I think a credit to the fantastic support for Panthers that was out there. It was absolutely phenomenal out there this weekend. You know, just chanting full on. And I think it goes back to what you were saying a few weeks ago on the show about, you know, really gave them a lift. Well done.
Just one very quickly, you know, especially I would say Stevie Lee won best defenseman, best D-man. Quality, you know. And the thing is, just to switch the subject, you know, everybody talks about like Lacko being the next young British player that could go abroad and make it abroad. You know, Stevie Lee is not that. You know, he sort of doesn't get mentioned in that type of talk, but the performances that he put on this weekend will just literally, you know, put him in the shop window for that as well. So I just thought I'd mention, you know, very, very well done to him as well.
Of course, it's not without its pitfalls, and we've now got a lot of injuries going into Wednesday. So, of course, Wednesday night we play Edinburgh down here at the NIC, and you know, I made a list of what I think of the fit players, and you know, it's. Well, obviously, it's short because we're going to have two band players, Michaela and Henley, both D-men as well, both going to be out. Possibly injured Kowalski. Well, Werner, we know he's injured. We know he dressed in Asiago, but didn't really take part. Lakovic picked up an injury. Lynn Loynes picked up an injury last night. He's very, very unlikely to play. He could be out for a while. And we know Bob Wren's got a broken foot, broken ankle, broken leg, whichever.
It could have spread by now. Could be hips, could be anything.
So, you know, we're down pretty much to the bare bones. We have got 10 fit imports. One of them is going to have to sit out. That's probably likely to be Jonas Sari. No disrespect to him, but you know, it leaves us with one import D-man in Chris Murray, who's probably not 100% at the minute. I could see Benedict probably dropping back today.
He's already done that.
Edinburgh, of course, full of confidence at the minute, and having beat us in the last encounter at Murrayfield, they're going to fancy their chances in that game.
And if we were in the same position, so would we.
Absolutely,
You know, I mean, they're coming into that. We're coming back off. 3 games in 3 days. We know they've only just arrived back tonight, so it's you know, we've had less time to recover from additional games, and barely any time to prepare. You know, so it could be interesting. Could be interesting.
Of course, you know, if we show the same amount of determination and grit that we did over the weekend, then we should probably get a victory.
You'd hope so, wouldn't you? And I think from from the players' point of view, they wouldn't like to just literally go over there that weekend, show what they can do, and then sort of slip back into the kind of season that we've had so far. I really do think from a coach's point of view, you could say to the players, look what you've just done in that weekend. Let's go home and let's prove it to our own fans in our own building, and let's put on a performance. Yes, we're going to be short benched from that, with who we're missing and stuff like that. But you can't moan about that, because let's not moan about that. It is what it is. Let's try and, we've still got quality skaters out there. D is the most, worrying part of it, purely because, with Henley and Tuka missing, it's going to put extra pressure in. We're going to lose somebody like Benny, from his attacking point of view, because he's going to have to be on D for the game. But I think Wednesday, and especially Wednesday, it's just about getting the result. Really, I'm not that bothered if it's a boring game or, just let's try and get a win. Let's try and get the win, and then let's try and have a couple of days preparing for the weekend, which is a tough weekend for us. So let's just try and get the win, boys. And I think from a crowd's point of view, fingers crossed that the crowd appreciate the work that they put in over there. And as an arena, we can show our appreciation and lift them, because they are, not going, but we are going to have to lift them.
Yeah, I think we are going to have to lift them. I think that's a great point. Okay, well that wraps it up for part 1. Join us in part 2 when we'll be talking about our hot topic, conflicts of interest. We'll be looking at the Premier Sports coverage from the weekend, and we'll be looking ahead to next weekend's game. So join us in part 2.